So, welcome to Food4CE final conference. We gathered here today at the University of Maribor, which is the organization coordinating this project, and especially faculty for civil engineering, transportation engineering, and architecture. So, just to give you a short technical note, today we have a special conference. It's organized in hybrid format, meaning that we have people present here in person, but we also have many online participants. For those joining us online, I would just kindly ask you that during this presentation you have a muted microphone. You can see the picture. Also, I would like to notify that the final conference is carried out in English language, but those who are presented over the Teams, you have option to use this translation by automatic subtitles. So we already sent you the instruction, and you have possibilities to switch to Italian, Hungarian, Polish, and German. Unfortunately, not in Slovenian. So, as we are looking to the agenda, so the first section will be devoted to presenting you the main project results. So now today we'll have options to see what we have developed, and then we will continue to the policy recommendations. After the short coffee break, during which you will have possibilities to see also our project videos, we will continue with the best practice. So this will be a chance to see the best practice from different countries. After this presentation, we will have a short award ceremony. When we will finish with this best section, we will continue with the panel discussion. And this one is going to be like a discussion among us and also you joining us here together to discuss what is the further steps. So you can include in this discussion by raising your hand if you are present on the Teams, so maybe you can send us a question or comment in the chat box. Otherwise, you that are present here, we have a traditional way by raising your hand. Okay, so when I finish with this boring stuff, I will continue with the more interesting one. Okay, so 3 years ago, our project, Food4CE, was financed, got approved by Interreg Central Europe. And this was a time with different partners from different countries gathered together. We face different languages, different culture, different history, and also different local systems. But what was common to all of us, we have this aim to strengthen the logistics knowledge, to share the best practice, and to stimulate innovation. And what we saw a lot of local producers already having amazing products. We saw a lot of cooperatives, platforms, logistic providers already trying to improve the short food supply and also to improve product visibility. We also saw different, very interesting business models and, let's say it simple, ways how you can sell the products. And we noticed that there is a strong potential here for cooperate, to strengthen local economies and to achieve food resilience. However, on the other side, we saw that there's just lacking coordination logistic structures. We noticed that logistic infrastructure was not appropriate for the food supply. And also we saw that many times deliveries are duplicated, we have empty rides, we have cold chain infrastructure that is not appropriate. And interesting, we saw there are some digital tools present, but to say it simple, they just don't talk to each other. And on the other hand, we also saw a lot of public procurement rules, let's say limiting the smaller local producers to join. So we noticed that we have these alternative food networks combined by local food producers, cooperatives, which are innovating in some way, so they're trying something new, but most of the time they are doing this by themselves. So they're very isolated, very independently they are addressing this innovation. So we noticed that the real problem was not the food. It was most the problem in coordination, in cooperating. So we saw that we have logistic networks which are underdeveloped. We saw that actors rarely share capacities or knowledge. And also we noticed that we have very interesting knowledge, but it mostly stayed local. And we know that for innovation, we need some mechanism to travel. And of course, this was the approach we used in this Food4CE project. So instead of making new strategies and only the plans, we try to build innovation hub. We try to create, let's say, a space with no offices, no bureaucratic structure, but living labs. A space where people, producers, logistic providers, cooperatives, also ministries can come together and co-create real solutions. And with this project, we created 5 local innovation hubs. You can see from each country, and everything, all these local innovation hubs are gathered under Transnational Innovation Hub. And this gives us opportunity to build two interesting platforms, which will be presented also today. What happened inside of Innovation Hub? So inside Innovation Hub, something has changed. People start working together, discussing their problems, finding the ways how to make transport optimization, how to use different packaging solutions, how to build a cold chain. Also, we saw a lot of change can be made on the public procurement side. And we see that these stakeholders, different ones, were willing to share experience, knowledge, solutions, and I think what is also very important in these days, their personal time. I would like to thank all of you present today because we know the personal time today is very appreciated. So what happened inside of Innovation Hub? So when we start implementing them, we noticed that stakeholders did not step back, they stepped in. We created a lot of co-creation workshops, a lot of discussions through which we try to provide best practice solutions, logistic solutions, and we have opportunity to talk with different stakeholders, from logistic providers, cooperatives, small food producers, and everything here was supported through this Innovation Hub, this continuous feedback, and very important platforms that will be also presented today, the knowledge platform and the matchmaking platform. So what has changed after the 3 years? We can say today we have established innovation hubs, which are working as some kind of regional coordination nodes. We noticed that people, stakeholders start talking to each other, sharing the solutions, problems, and we saw what is very important, the best practices have moved across the border. On the other side today, we'll also have opportunity to see the policy recommendations. So the ones that we propose are actually coming from people from the field with the real problems, with the real bottlenecks. I think this is a very added value also of this project. To end, what is the most important part, I would say, so it's not just building another platform. What we managed to do in this project, I can honestly say, is that we created the trust between the actors. We created this thinking of, I have to solve some logistic challenges. In some way, we also increased the digital capacity. Definitely, by including the ministries, the Chamber of Commerce, we also raised the policy awareness of the problems. And in some way, we established this really good transnational support mechanism for sharing best practices and logistic solutions. To know more about the project, you are more than welcome to visit our project website, to know our partners and also our results. So here's the link that you can follow us. Okay, I conclude this opening and I will continue with the next panel discussion. This is the first section, as you see on your agenda, is presenting the major project results. And today, me personally will be presenting the knowledge platform, following by the tool for mapping best practices, and the last one will be presented the matchmaking platform. So this, we have a summation of our main project results. So to continue, I would like to present you the knowledge platform. So the knowledge platform was actually, let's say, a website, a tool, with which we tried to capture local experience and transfer it into transnational impact. And what was the motivation for that? It was awareness that the knowledge was there. We saw a lot of producers already using different delivery modes. We saw a lot of platforms already establishing some distribution channels, and also interesting cases of logistics providers already doing some services for the food supply. But, as they say, there is always a but, we noticed this knowledge was very fragmented, so it was in many different spaces. It just didn't travel across the border, and what is important to say here, also the language was some kind of a barrier. So it was really hard to understand what the Hungarians are doing, the Polish, if you don't know the language. And that was, of course, our reason that we saw that innovation was not missing. It just needs some structure, or let's say mechanism, to be more stimulated. And we saw that there was no transnational visibility of these solutions. On the other side, there was no common approach to understand or to compare best practices. And the most, let's say, this is connected to the tool for mapping the best practices. There was no common understanding what is the best practice in logistic in alternative food networks. And this was something that we managed to establish through the project. Now, with these innovation hubs and the knowledge platform, we were aware. So innovation needs structure to travel. Best practices will not automatically scale. So you need some kind of a translation language, you need comparability, and also what is very important, these best practices has to be validated. So you have to trust them. You have to have some filter established. And this is something we try to achieve through the knowledge platform. This knowledge platform, you can understand it as a website, which was actually co-created by the end users, by the local food producers, cooperatives, logistic providers, through these innovation hubs that I mentioned before. And what we try to do is to adopt this knowledge platform to the different type of users. We try to organize this practice in, let's say, more understandable way. And of course, what is important about this platform, that is scalable, so we can easily scale it to the new best practice cases, to the new sectors, and the maintenance is quite, let's say, easy. So maybe just to give you the glimpse into the best practice, the two important sections here are the best practice section, that you can find it here, and the second one is the knowledge base. So the best practice cases is actually a catalog of best practices gathered from 5 different countries. Here you have 45 best practices collected, and what is important, you have to understand who is making this best practice, so we characterize them by type of organization. So there are best practices coming from local food producers, there are some solutions coming from logistic providers. On the other hand, you have platforms. On the other side, we characterize this solution according to the 5 criteria. This is something that will be explained a bit in details in the tool for mapping. And we try to establish what are the criteria that something is or not best practice. And this was advanced logistics, digitalization, transferability, of course, local focus, and sustainability. So 5 criteria based on which you can also search for the best practice cases. Just to give you, and of course, then we also have filtering across the countries. If you're interested in Hungary, you can find the best practice, or in Slovenia. Just to give you a glimpse how these best practices are presented, they're in a easy way. So we have a name, you have address, and on the first page you can see from which organization this best practice is coming, so local food producers. Then you can understand to which criteria it corresponds. So here we have sustainability, for example, and the important section is here, success factor. Explained in very easy way how they managed to solve some solution. Here, for example, you know, in Slovenia we have Zelena Jabka. It's a really interesting solutions on the packaging, zero waste packaging solutions. And it's a very nice story, also the background and the philosophy, because there are people behind this story. It's not only solving logistics solution, not only selling the products, but what we managed to capture in this best practice description is also people behind it, stories, motivation. This is something that is also added. And you are more than welcome to scroll our website. You will find many interesting solutions from Slovenia, Hungary. Here are just a few examples. I'm showing it to you to have a bit of a feeling how this description is working. The second part of the knowledge base wiki, we try to collect some useful tools. Here you will find also tool for mapping best practices. And also here you will find different tools from different projects that may help you maybe improve the logistic, business model. So everything is gathered here. And also here you will have some project reports where we did the analyze. So in the first year, we did really extensive analyses of what are the problems, what are the challenges in alternative food networks. So they provide you really interesting, let's say, feedback. And also you have relevant policies by each country, learning courses, and logistics solutions. So just to give you a glimpse, these project reports are organized by country. So if you're interested in a specific country, you can have a look. To understand better how the logistic process is organized, what are the challenges, what are the forms, what are the benefits, and so on. But also at the last part, you have these transnational reports, which allows you to, let's say, have an overview what is happening in all 5 countries. Now, the very interesting part of this knowledge transfer wiki is also the selection of logistics solutions. And this was something that was built together with our stakeholders. Today, we have 50 different logistics solutions gathered. And they are, let's say, organized in 5 thematic groups, so you can easily follow them. And for example, you have here a solution on the vending machine. The purpose of this logistics solution is for somebody to scroll through these possible solutions and start thinking, okay, maybe instead of selling in the shop, I can use the vending machine. And here you have really like an easy way to explain to you how to approach this What could be the challenges? What are the benefits? It looks like a Wikipedia. I think you all know it, so just scrolling to the text, very easy format. And of course, you also have a learning courses that we establish. It's a basic course that gives you a bit of understanding what are the forms of alternative food networks, what are the challenges. It's a way of maybe give you additional information of this sector. To give you the key insights, so today, Knowledge Platform has 45 best practices. We have gathered more than 50 logistic solutions, and you can see they are classified different according to different criteria. Most of them are in sustainability, which is really interesting. What we noticed that maybe digitalization is the field that we should still work on. So this was also the focus in our innovation hubs to give more attention to maybe this topic. To give you the final insight, so we can say the knowledge is very important infrastructure, important these days. And in some way, we have a logistic infrastructure that helps us move the goods. On the other side, we have a knowledge infrastructure that moves innovation. And I think we successfully managed to gather this under the Knowledge Platform. So thank you for your attention. I will give my words to the next presenter, Gerda Hartmann, presenting the tool for mapping best practices.
I'm waiting for the first slide. Yeah. So good morning, everybody. My name is Gerda Hartmann from eConsult. I'm very pleased to be here. And as Masha said before, we developed a tool for mapping best practices, and this tool I would like to introduce to you today. But before we started putting up the tool, of course, we had to do some research. And the first question was, what is a best practice AFN? So at the beginning of the project, we discussed about which criteria an AFN must meet to be a best practice. The project partners, so the partners from all the 5 countries, were asked to identify what from their point of view was a best practice criteria. And we identified a total of about 50 criteria. And these criteria were screened, discussed where necessary, and summarized in clusters. And the clusters that emerged, you can see them there. First, it's advanced logistics. You mentioned them before, but I want to go a little bit more in detail. Advanced logistics means logistics of the AFN is well advanced and organized. The second criteria is digitalization, which means comprehensive information along the supply chain is essential. The next one is local focus. Local roots and regional commitment are part of the identity. Sustainability. Environmental, economical, and social aspects are key. And the last one was transparency. Openness in action builds trust. So these were the criteria which we used when we went on with the project to identify best practice AFNs. And these keywords and guidelines were explained using examples, the ones you can see here. And these examples came from the criteria we collected within the team. So we had the criteria on the one hand, but on the other hand, we also needed the AFNs that we are going to look at. So we identified about 120 AFNs throughout all countries, short food supply chains, and we used them to rate and use the criteria we have identified for best practices. And at the end, we had a collection, as Masha stated before, of 45 best practice AFNs. And at the same time, so we had the criteria, we had the AFNs, and we could start with rating just to try what we are going to do to test. Yeah? So here you could see we have the, no, this was not, this is it. So here we have on the top you see the best practice criteria. On the left side you can see some AFNs, and we rated them accordingly. Then we went more into detail. We didn't look at the AFNs, but We took a closer look at the details and examined the guiding principles within the best practices. And on the left-hand side, for example, we looked at Polish AFNs, so in the area of advanced logistics. And here we can see none of them used box schemes. So this is the first step to further research. You can ask yourself, are they not popular in Poland? Or maybe our selection was not broad enough? Or is there another reason why they do not use it? So from that on, this is the starting point of further discussion when you have a look into these details. And on the other side, of all best practice AFNs that are active in the field of digitalization, only have tools for route tracking. Why is it like this? So this gives you a first insight on the situation, and then with that picture you can go more into research, into detail. And with this experience that we had, we started developing the tool that I would like now to present to you. And what I did...
Welcome to the introduction of the Food4CE mapping tool for best practices in food supply. This tool enables you to explore individual AFNs in detail, compare them with one another, and derive insights from the various approaches and experiences. First, navigate to the knowledge transfer platform and select the knowledge base menu item at the top of the header. In the lower left section, you will find the elements of the knowledge base. The second item is the mapping tool for best practices in food supply. When you click on it, a brief introduction will open explaining the purpose of the tool and how it can be used. The tool supports the identification of strengths and weaknesses, highlights promising practices, and fosters knowledge exchange. It also enables you to assess and benchmark your own organization or other stakeholders. To work with the tool, please download it using the link provided at the end of the page. A link to the download folder on your computer will open, allowing you to assess the tool. Once downloaded, the file is stored locally on your hard drive, meaning that all data entered remains under your control. The tool is Excel-based and compatible with standard versions of Microsoft Excel. It contains 6 tabs. The Start tab provides background information about the project and outlines the functionalities of the tool. At the beginning of the project, as we have learned before, the consortium defined the criteria that constitute best practice in alternative food network. These criteria are advanced logistics, digitalization, local focus, sustainability, and transparency. Detailed explanations of these criteria, including the underlying requirements and assessment logic, are provided in the second tab, Best Practice. Familiarity with these definitions is essential for correctly interpreting the results generated by the 3 subsequent evaluation sections. We first go to the Validation tab, where you can find out whether your business is a best practice according to our definition and compare it with others. At the bottom left, you will see instructions on how to proceed. If you cannot see them, you will need to make the image a little smaller. If you have forgotten the definition of the criteria, go to its name and you will get help. Start by entering the name of a company in the first field. Then rate this company from 0 to 5. In our example, we call the company Farmland. It is very good at logistics, does a lot in digitalization, but has little local focus, works very sustainably, but its external transparency is only moderate. Overall, it receives an average score, and we can immediately see whether the company is a best practice, which means it scores more than 3 points or not. You can now use the tool to conduct comparisons. Why is this useful? It can serve as a basis for discussion within a cooperative, a working group, or an event organized by an interest group. It is also valuable for identifying areas in which your organization performs better or worse compared to others. To do so, simply enter additional organizations. The table will display several results. The color assigned to each criterion remains consistent across the column, but the shading becomes lighter or darker depending on the rating. Thanks to the color coding, which corresponds to the color coding used in the definition, we can immediately see where there is room for improvement, but also where our strengths lie. In the graphical view on the right side, the organizations are displayed side by side. This allows you to identify the highest performing organization at a glance and to analyze where its specific strengths lie. The resulting validation can provide a structured starting point for internal reflection or exchange. The tool can also be applied more broadly. It is not limited to individual organizations. It can be used to compare regions, countries, or different types of actors within local agricultural systems. Within the project, for example, partner countries compared the aggregated results and discussed observed differences. The analytical scope is flexible, and these comparative approaches can form the basis for constructive and forward-looking discussions. Let's move on to the assessment section. During the assessment process, you examine the individual criteria in greater detail. This allows you to identify which elements of the defined best practices are already implemented by the organization and, in areas with lower scores, to reflect on whether additional measures could support its further development. The listed aspects are intended to provide orientation and stimulate structured self-assessment. Let's start with putting the names of the companies. As in the previous section, each best practice criterion retains its assigned color. At the level of the sub-criteria, however, you are asked to respond with yes or no to indicate whether the described measures are implemented within the organization. It is important to complete each row fully, which is indicated by the colored fields. As you can see here, we missed one field, which we can see immediately because it's still green. Incomplete entries will lead to incomplete evaluation results. The outcomes for each criterion are displayed directly below the table in the integrated graphics, enabling an immediate overview. The third application of the tool, the business model section, uses the Canvas method and is designed to analyze and describe an individual small enterprise from multiple perspectives. By answering a structured set of questions, you obtain a consolidated view of the organization as a whole. Completing the fields not only guides you through specific thematic areas, but also supports a comprehensive understanding of the overall business structure. To facilitate this process, the Instruction Business Model tab provides guiding questions for each area, helping users reflect systematically and develop well-founded responses. Thank you for your attention.
So we made this small tutorial to help you understand what the thought behind is, and you will find this tutorial on the homepage on the knowledge transfer platform within the next weeks, maybe a little bit shorter version, but I think it helps a lot to understand the tool, and we hope that you will all use it a lot. Thank you very much.
Dear chairs, dear conference participants, now we know how the knowledge was collected within the mapping tool. We know how we transfer the knowledge across the AFN stakeholders based on a knowledge transfer platform. Let me now present next tool we developed within the Food4CE project matchmaking platform. My name is Michał Gazdecki. I'm representing Poznań University of Life Sciences, the project partner responsible for development of this tool. Before we go to the details, let me now discuss why AFN representatives needs a better connection. First of all, across the CE region, we notice very different conditions of market conditions. Yeah, in some countries, AFN representatives are on a very initial stage. Yes, or are not well established. On the other hand, in majority of different countries, in other countries, this system works very well. Yeah, however, it's in a very different cultural conditions. Yep. So to make it more transparent, to enable different stakeholders to communicate across the countries, the connection tool is needed. Another point is limited access to the market by the smaller producer. This is very noticeable across the countries, that especially if we consider the smaller food producers, still the access to the markets is not as good as we would like to have. In the third point, I would like to discuss, in my opinion, the most important factor. Yeah, I put here a main point. Meaning that we are somehow facing the need of new model of food systems. First of all, across the countries, what we can see is a further concentration of the food systems. And once the food systems starts to be more concentrated, it's maybe more efficient from the economic point of view, but in case of any critical event, this kind of system seems to be less resilient. Yeah. So for this condition, we would need to have something what is alternative, so contradicted to the mainstream. On the other hand, we can see, and definitely it's visible across the countries, that consumers are more and more interested to the alternative food, and basically to not only the food, but generally to the alternative food system. Fragmented stakeholders across the countries. So for us, the main point was to make them, provide them tools to connect each other and to start cooperation, to learn from each other. Our tool was definitely one of the main delivery if we consider the objective of the study. But here I would like to really underline the specific role of innovation hubs across the countries, because each country established own innovation hubs, and these hubs promoted a lot and do a lot of work to really start a matchmaking platform, to transfer it from just a tool to the really live tool, enabled to connect across the different stakeholders. What the matchmaking platform is. So brief description is a tool to enhance, to foster cooperation, collaboration between the stakeholders of alternative food networks across the countries. However, here I would like to stress that this is a fully online tool, very easy to follow, very easy to understand how it works. If you ever create an account on Facebook, you are ready to go with a matchmaking platform, yeah, because it works very in very intuitive way. The second point is a multi-language environment. As Masha underlined at the very beginning, still language seems to be kind of a barrier, yeah? So our tool is fully multi-language and enable communication between the stakeholders in a very different language. It means I can put my input in my local language and all the stakeholders will be, and this message will be transferred to the all local languages across the countries. It's definitely free access. So if you would like to use it, and I strongly encourage you to use it, it's easy to use and it's free to use. We still provide support for the technical support for the platform, and the platform will be ready to go after the project will end. Our main target audience is, of course, AFN representatives. However, we divided them into 5 sections. So on the left-hand side, you can see the food producers. As a food producers, we mean the farmers. It's not necessarily only the small ones, yeah? So we can consider a very different scale of production. The main point is it's not this mainstream distribution system. On the other hand, we have AFN support institutions. So here we consider mainly the local governments, Chamber of Commerce, development agencies. These kind of organizations exist in all the countries participating to the projects. Then we have a logistic providers. So all the companies provides any type of logistic services like a transportation, storage services, packaging services and stuff like that. Then digital platforms like e-commerce platforms, marketplaces. Last not least, large customers. By large customers, we mean basically supermarkets and catering industry. Creating matchmaking platform was a process, like a digital process, so we need to follow the specific logic of this kind of development. So first of all, we have a phase 1. We created kind of a consortium development team created mainly from the representative of University of Maribor and Puls, University of Life Sciences. And this team provided technical specification and visual design of matchmaking platform, which were delivered to the external agency like web developers. Then we work very intensively. We have several iterations of a cooperation, and once we said, okay, we are good to go further, and the alpha version was ready to use. Once alpha version was ready to use, we asked our colleagues from the participating country and some selected possible AFN users to make a test. After this test, the feedback was provided to the consortium development team, and then it was transferred to the web developers, so to make the logic of the process. After several iterations, we obtained the beta version, so the version we can share with the general audience, and it means in the third step, the final version of matchmaking platform was ready to go. User experience, here we need to take into consideration 2 dimensions, I would say. The first of all, we need to be in line with the project objectives and requirements of a project. On the other hand, we need to provide for the target audience the tool which is very easy to use. And in the simple steps, I presenting you like a general experience of a matchmaking platform user. So first of all, the person needs to register themselves and the organization he or she is representing. Then there are basic functionalities like making the match, so finding the business partner or partner you can cooperate on a different level, then presenting the offer or seeking the offer, and then basically you can follow and benefit from the cooperation with the other AFN stakeholders. Now let me present how the matchmaking platform looks like. This is the main page. You can see the web address, easy to follow the direct link, and on the left-hand side you can see the QR code to go directly to the platform. On the top of the slide, I put some numbers to really follow the main point and main functionalities of the matchmaking platform. So let me start from the main page. If you go to the main page, As you can see, if you are a non-registered user, because this is what I'm presenting now, the functionalities are rather limited, because the main point here is to, first of all, let's promote the tool itself and let's promote the project outcome, but on the other hand, let's enhance the possible users to really make a registration. So this is the main point. So the non-registered user can only read the content of the platform, follow what was the objective of the project, and see who is present on the platform. Once you start interaction within the matchmaking platform, most probably you would like to be registered. So here is the very simple registration process to the matchmaking platform. As I said, if you ever do any registration to any online tour, you will be able to do so. So it's not so complicated, very easy to follow. However, what I would like to stress, here we provide administrator verification of a new users. Yeah, because it's not like a social media tool, it's a professional tool for the professional users. So all the information put to the platform has to be somehow reviewed, verified by the administrator. So in each country, we assign at least one or maybe sometimes two persons as a local administrators. Now we can start playing with the tool. So the Find Your Match is the major functionality of the matchmaking platform. So it means we can search possible business partner based on a different criteria. And here I'm presenting you the criteria by the keywords, by the company name, by the organization type, core business, and country. Yeah. And once we put all the requirements we are looking for, we are provided with suggested matches. Yeah. So here how it looks. Yeah, based on some anonymized data, we put some keywords to the system. Yeah, and the system provided us with the suggested matches because the system knows our profile after we made a registration process. On the other hand, we can use the matchmaking platform to promote our activity. So here we have a section business opportunities. Here we can put our offers, so what we are offering to the markets and what might be interesting to another stakeholders. As you can see, there is a different color code for blue one for the seeking of the opportunities and the green one for offering the opportunities to the other stakeholders. Events and meetups. If you would like to make any event like a meeting, I don't know, knowledge sharing, matchmaking, personal meeting, so this is the great opportunity because all this information can be submitted to the matchmaking platform, and this information is then automatically provided to the all registered user of matchmaking platform. About us. Standard section to make a promotion of the project and make a description of the project, what is going on, why we developed this tool, and all other functionalities. And now, last not least, because this is like a personal dashboard, if you are a registered user, it means here is your navigation center. So here you can make all the settings which is necessary for your account. Here you can put your input, describe your company, prepare the offer, check the matches you already created or you're looking for. And additionally, here you can run the private conversation, like a private communication between you and all the other user of matchmaking platform. The project itself is going to the end, yeah, because this is the final conference. However, the matchmaking platform will last much longer, yeah, because we provided the hosting services and the technical services for the next at least 5 years. So, and I would really encourage all the participants of the conference to make a registration because for us, the key point is to collect really critical mass of users, what makes the matchmaking platform even more functionalities and provides more value to the target audience. I'm presenting now the numbers. However, these are the historical numbers now, because since last week we collected 5 new members from Poland, and definitely what I learned yesterday in Slovenia, we are expecting 8 more users next week. So definitely we will reach 100, so which is great for us, because this kind of a threshold we defined to collect the critical mass. So we are very close to reach this number. As you can see, we have a different organization types, like 40 local producers, 6 logistics service providers, 16 supporting institutions, 8 platforms, and 21 large customers. As I said, matchmaking platform is not just a technical tool. It's much more, and in my opinion, it's a strategic instrument to really foster stakeholder interaction across the countries and across the regions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Gerda and Michael, for this very interesting presentation. So in the project, we did not develop only platform and tools, but we also talk with the stakeholders. We try to understand what are the problems. And the next section that will be presented by Lorenzo, it's a collection of everything that needs to be changed also on the policy level. And here we look at the regional, national policies. We look at the smart specialization policies and macro-regional. So we try to really collect what is necessary to change. So I'll give my word to Lorenzo to present this section on policy recommendation.
So, thank you. Thank you, Masha. Thank you, everybody, for connecting. And, okay, this is the first slide. So, as Masha said, a lot of effort within the project went also to try and develop some policy recommendation to support AFNs. And what I'm gonna try to tell you this morning is what we have come to and what policy we wrote, and also how we got to writing these policies. The innovation hubs that were introduced to you a few minutes ago were also a key important point that we use to collect a lot of inputs for our policy recommendation. Innovation hubs, for those who are not familiar with this kind of working table, are a platform where various stakeholders come together to foster innovation in a specific domain. In our cases, we brought together researchers, policymakers, business experts, producers, and of course, logistics service providers to discuss about the logistics challenges that in each of the regions our AFNs ecosystem were facing, and also to try and advance some of the solutions to these challenges. In the Innovation Hub, activities can be divided mainly into 2 phases. So there was a first needs analysis phase where we investigated what were the needs that were the most felt amongst the AFNs in our regions. And this was conducted through focus group, one-on-one meetings, and questionnaires specifically designed to gather these needs. And after this phase, the insights that came out were used to develop workshops. Workshops were developed on those topics that came out most frequently as those topics that needed to be addressed. And as you can imagine, there was transportation, there was storage, and there was digitalization. So how to integrate digital tools in their day-to-day operation of AFNs. But beyond the inputs from Innovation Hub, what we needed to do was also understand what was and what is the policy context that we were dealing with, and with that concerned AFNs in our regions. And there are two categories of policies that we investigated. One, it's common for all of us, that are the international policies. And there we try and discover what Sustainable Development Goals had to say about responsible consumption, short food supply chain, what also the FAO had to say, or a pact such as the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact had to say. Of course, also the Green Deal was a strategy that we analyzed with the Farm to Fork strategy and the Circular Economy Action Plan. And of course, we could not, we had to analyze also the Common Agricultural policy, which is probably the most important policies for primary producers in Europe. And then there were those kind of policies that were different for all of us. So the local level and the regional level, I put a couple of examples of each of our countries just to give you an idea of what was the material we were working with. And so here our path we took different paths. We had to deal with very different contexts. But these two phases, so the phase that started from the Innovation Hub, that in the end gave us the empirical data to our research and the policy review, then they all fed into what are the policy outputs of our project. Policy outputs were 5 regional action plans. So 5 plans where policy recommendations for the local stakeholders and local policymakers are contained. We provided recommendation for macro-regional strategies and smart specialization strategies that are 2 types of famously sponsored EU strategies. And in the last phase, we produced the transnational policy guidelines, which is some kind of a summary of what are the most recurrent needs that we have identified across the regions. And this is what I'm gonna be mainly presenting you with today, as we didn't have time to dive into each of the regional action plan. That anyway, it's gonna be available to you on the knowledge transfer platform. You will be able to download it if you wanna give a better look at what happened in each of the specific regions. Today, we are gonna be looking though mostly to what are the common challenges that are present in all of the regions. So the first one that I want to start with is the lack of formal recognition of AFNs. So as one can imagine, if something doesn't get recognized within a policy framework, it will have a harder time getting financed or getting any kind of support. And so we advised for a definition, a shared definition to be established, something like the one you see highlighted in the slide, which is the definition that we set off from in our project, that define networks that bring producers and consumer closer together in a spatial social context. But AFNs that deliver this kind of closure between consumers and producers can be of many models. I mean, many models can deliver this. So we could go as far as to say that we do not just need an umbrella term, but we need a set of concrete models, recognized models, maybe the most widespread ones, and to use these in policies, to mention these in policies, to better tailor the help that we can give them. I'll make an example. 2 of the most famous models in AFNs, in the AFNs world, are community-supported agriculture and food cooperatives. On one side, we have something which is basically a farming business. So their logistical concern might be more leaning towards the availability of fields closer to the urban context. The food cooperative, it's basically a shop. So its business is about gathering goods from various producers. And so they might be more worried about their storage or their last mile solutions since they might be based closer to the urban context. So these differences, we think, we need to be valued. These differences need to be seen if we want to give the best support possible to AFNs. But definitional problems that do not end here, as some terms that in the literature are known as nexus terms. So in the absence of a definition of AFN, we have terms such as local, regional, and small producers that are used in policy context to refer to AFNs. And these terms are defined inconsistently across legal and policy frameworks. And this leads to the second big issue that we have encountered, which is regulatory disproportionality and administrative burden. Because as I was saying, these terms, local producers, regional, leads to a regulatory ambiguity. So let's say if the EU is proposing some policies on food safety, for example, then the EU will ask member states to enforce these provisions through their own laws. But member states are granted the flexibility when producing this law to decide what a small producer is. So many small producers, many member states will opt for a stricter definition, and many small producers risk at being left out of a deregulation regime that would benefit them, that would take off some of the administrative weight, some of the high standards that industrial scale operations and needs to respect. This, in the Hungarian context, for example, is referred to as the growth trap. So small producer try not to grow beyond a certain limit because they know that they will incur into very difficult industrial standards that they cannot sustain. And another regulatory disproportionality that we've seen are the ones concerned with certification schemes and labels, which frequently entail high administrative cost and complex procedures that small producers do not have the energy to face. And also in the Hungarian, again, context was proposed, but many times this has been proposed to try and introduce the participatory guarantee system within the EU organic regulation. So participatory guarantee systems are certificates that are somehow a substitution of third-party certification. So producer can self-certificate themselves. They exist now. They are informal. They're very efficient at implementing some agroecological practices. But if they were to get recognized in the EU organic regulation, they would access the benefits that are available to those who comply with these regulations, and they would get the visibility, a great deal of this visibility, like the biological certification get today. And also promote simplified guidelines at a local level would help a lot to take off some of this burden. I'll give you an example of what happened in Emilia-Romagna. which is the region that we operated our innovation hub from. And in Emilia-Romagna, AFNs gathered around a forum that is called the Regional Forum for Solidarity Economy. They created this in collaboration with the regional authority. This forum was recognized with the regional law. And since they were created in 2014, one of their biggest accomplishments was to produce guidelines for small processing. So what they allowed them to do was for primary producer to process their raw material into processed food that they can then sell without those infrastructure that are available to bigger businesses and industrial businesses, but still complying with the EU food safety standards. So they could comply with the standards, but use what basically were their home kitchens. And this was possible because some simplified policy guidelines were written for them. Something similar would be advisable to happen for logistics as well, since there are still some problems into handling contracts when small producers want to join forces when distributing together. So something like this would be advisable to happen in logistics as well. The third issue we encounter is the one with education, awareness, and demand-side limitations. As Marcia mentioned before, many times our partners reported the difficulties that their AFNs in their region had into accessing a secure and stable market, such as the one of public procurement. And this is because it's a two-sided problem. It's because of the lack of infrastructure from which you can consolidate your flow or produce and provide the more easily the goods that are needed in public canteen, for example. But it is also because there is a lack of knowledge amongst institutions and public managers when it comes to handling more contracts with more producers for providing the foods needed in public procurement. And this is because local food systems are not systematically embedded within formal education curricula or long-term public awareness strategies. So this was something that we tackled in our project with the introductory course that was put up in the knowledge transfer platform, but also our foundation, the ITL Foundation, we integrated AFNs and the subject of AFNs into lessons that we regularly deliver at the vocational institute that trains people to get into the logistic industry, but also Masha, I know that which is our lead coordinator, did with her students at the Maribor University. So this is a gap that needs to be filled because we are gonna be needing a lot of new energy and minds working on trying to developing, for example, collaborative business models that will be very useful for a more efficient logistics. And for last, I left what's probably the most relevant policy challenge and gap. What are the most two relevant? And they are strictly correlated, which is infrastructure deficits and financial accessibility. And here, what is important to highlight is that there is a substantial amount of financial resources mobilized at European and national level. But yet, AFNs have trouble accessing them. So if we look at the cap, which is the Common Agriculture Policy, which is probably the most important policy for primary producers, we see that for the 2014 and 2020 cycle, most of the CAP went to the richest region in Europe and richest farmers. And by richest, what I mean is the farmers that even without that financial aid, their income would be above the EU median disposable income. So in the first part of the graph A, you see that red bars corresponds to the share of the CAP that went to these type of farms. In the other two graphs, there is shown how much of the CAP went to the richest and most emitting farmers. So those who emitted a biggest share of greenhouse gases in Europe were also the ones that got a biggest share of this policy. And in the last graph, the graph C, you can see how much of the CAP went to farmers that protected environmental biodiversity. And a lot of CAP went to people who amongst the richest regions, did not protected environmental biodiversity. So AFNs hardly falls within one of these three categories. So they're neither the richest nor the one who emits more or that protect the least environmental biodiversity. So what's the gist of this recommendation is to reorient CAP payments towards smaller and more sustainable farmers, tying financial support to investments that advance a just ecological transition. And so that the small producer can finally access those shared spaces that they need to start operation from, and so that they can aggregate their flow of produce, so that it starts to make sense to invest in digital tools that are very costly in terms of designing and training. And yes, so this was the last policy gap that was common to all of our regions. But again, if you wanna give a good look into all the specific gaps, these will be available in the knowledge transfer platform, in the documents such as the regional action plans. And yes, I'm over, so I will give back the floor to Masha.
So thank you, Lorenzo, for this very interesting presentation. What would I like to say that in the project, we didn't just write the recommendation. We have several meetings with ministries, with marshal offices, and we try to discuss also this with them. We know it's a big challenge to adopt these changes, but at least we start talking about them. So they are aware more that we have a specific problems. The policy change will be needed. It will not change from now to tomorrow, but this is a long-term change. And I think we are trying in this direction with a project like this to collect the problems from the field, translate them in the policy, and in the end, what is important, we would like to make a policy change that will be a background for financing the solutions. And this is our long-term goal. We know it's a long way, but we started after 3 years. I can see in many countries, the ministries are more aware of the problems and things are changing. And also we have a new policy perspective that are building. And I think a lot of our suggestions will be considered. And I think it's a long term, it's a great effort to achieve that, but we are achieving it step by step. Now, because we concluded a bit earlier with this section, we will prolong the coffee break. So I will kindly invite you to have a coffee in the next room. For the online visitors, we will return as is scheduled. So I think on the schedule, we are returning at 10:45 from the coffee break. So welcome back from the coffee break. Now we will continue with the best practice showcase. Today you will have opportunity to get better insight on the best practices we identified. And actually the first presenter today is going to be from Hungary side. I will give my word to Géza.
Good afternoon for everyone, and I hope the technique will be working. My name is Géza Hitka from the Hungarian group, the University of Agriculture and Life Science, and I would like to show you two best practices. And the first will be the digitalized short food supply chain in practice, the Cibus Hungaricus Foundation's automated food store as the future of the local food system. Firstly, this is a kind of container where you can buy different products, mainly foods. And the benefit, one of our biggest benefits to able to put this container as you want in festivals, seasonal sites, maybe small towns, or in an extended operating or opening hours next to a supermarket, or somewhere in the agglomeration. And there are some benefits what I would like to tell you. So Cibus Hungaricus Foundation uniquely combined the development of local food system with education and cutting-edge technology. Its mission is to shorten and make more transparent and connection between the Hungarian producers and consumers, while simultaneously increasing the efficiency and sustainability of the food supply chain. One of the most visible and innovative manifestation of this mission is the automated food store installed on the Buda campus of the university, as you can see on the picture. Now this container is working, so the consumer can buy from this container and can be able to collect the different foodstuffs. I would like to tell you some technical parameters of this automated food store. It's able to work all the day and all the year, every day. So it's the operation is it's a full-time operation. The dimension is fitted to a normal shipping container, but it can modify if it's necessary. But now it's a normal shipping container size. It can use green energy if you install solar panels on the roof, and the container can measure the energy consumption and can calculate the different sources of energy, directly energy intake or solar energy. In the container, we can put more than 400 different type of products. It can be 800 if we want. So the average number is 600. And it means that more than 7,000 pieces of products in stock. In one day, now the technique leave us to serve average 200 customers, but it can increase in different cases if it's necessary. This container is an on-site purchasing tool, so you can order the foods or the stuffs by an mobile application. You can pay in the application, and also it's a possibility to pay directly at next to the container, and using your coins, using your bank card. If you want, so it's depend from the needs who wants to install this container. Inside the container, the temperature is constant, so we can set 5 degrees if we want. Now we have a second version of this container which can separate the room into 2 different temperature zones. But the first prototype is fully cooled to 5 degrees. The container can measure all of the parameters inside and outside, and it has a really good insulation. You can see here how it looks like in our parking zone. And also you can download the application, but this application is working if you are living in Budapest because the way what we want to do to sell product directly through this application. And you can choose the time when you want to collect your basket, your package. In a package, what you collect can be different type of products. So it's not means that product by product you have to order. So you can prepare a package and you can pick it up your schedule time when you want in one package. Our next best practice is the Food4CE company, let's say. It's a social organization, and they have a really innovative way how to sell products, because they have really good cooperation with local farmers, and the ingredients are sourced directly from them through a short supply chain without any intermediaries. This ensures full transparency in the journey of the food, guarantees fair prices for producers and providers, consumers with fresh, reliable and sustainable sources ingredients for cooking. The role of the Food4CE team is to prepare these high-quality ingredients so they are ready to use, cleaned, portioned, packaged, and delivered precisely on the day of cooking. And as a result of participants are left with truly nothing but the joy of cooking, while all the rest is taken care by the professionals working behind the scenes. In this picture, you can see the homepage. Every week, different menus, different dishes are on the list, and you can choose what you want to cook. And you can choose also the portions for 2 person, 4 person, and you can pay through this application, through this homepage. And you can choose the date when you want to prepare the dinner or the lunch. So you will get prepared ingredients, peeled, packed ingredients, that time what you want, when you want. Thank you very much for your kind attention. And before I finalize my presentation, I would like to thank you, Mashenka, all the things, the well precise project management, and I'm really happy to be able to join this project. And we are really hope that in the future we will be able to continue this work, and we will meet each other next in the future as fast as possible. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Geza, for this very interesting presentation. So on the first hand, we saw this automatic robotic shop, really advanced one. And on the other side, we have a story of not just producing the food, but making a story out of it. So it's really interesting cases. Now, as we are moving along across the border to Austria, we will also have a few very interesting examples presented by David.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome from my side. I have the honor and the pleasure to present to you the two best practices from Austria. We have Roses and Adama. They both tackle the same problem in a different kind of way. And the problem they tackle is the last mile delivery. So how is the sustainable produced regional food brought in a logistical way to the end consumer? So how to bring food to the consumer. Let me start with Roses. You can see Rosie here. It's their mascot. And their solution is that a cold chain with parcel lockers needs to be established to solve this issue. Their product is totally invented by themselves. And you can see the product here, again, on the left. It's their parcel lockers. For those of you who might ask, what is a parcel locker? It's quite easy. It's basically a box that contains of different compartments. Through self-serving technology, you can access the parcel locker 24/7, and therefore it is possible to do unattended delivery of all the goods. What's special about Roses, as I talked about, they are an open system, so every consumer or every producer could access the locker. And the second really important thing, they are the only provider we have in Austria, or we know about, that do cold parcel lockers in an open system. And therefore, parcel lockers are in general used to optimize last mile delivery, like when you order something on Amazon or something else. But in our specific case of sustainable food logistics, Rosie is our best practice from Austria. There's one critical success factor, and that's how they solved this last mile problem. They were like, we have to bring our solution to the consumers, and then the delivery company can come when it's fitting them, and the consumer can take the product when it's fitting their timetable. And this is possible through their locker. Some additional facts for Roses. They do not sell direct or fresh fruit themselves. They're intermediary in a kind of way. They have real-time temperature tracking if needed. And depending on the location, they can do green power usage, so another sustainable factor. In theory, they have a liability insurance, but it was never needed in their, I think, 4 or 5 years of operating in Vienna. And they had an SDG certificate. So it said that it is possible on really good, if you have really good locations for the locker, to reduce CO2 emissions by 80%. So that is a lot and could be a great thing. So now let me move on to the second best practice from Austria. It's Adama. You can see here the family. It's a family-run business, and they tackled the problem of last mile delivery a bit differently. They are like, we produce, we put something in our own box scheme, we deliver it ourselves and bring it to the customers with time window delivery. So for them, it's important that there are a regional short food supply chain. They have an organic farm and they own their own logistics. So they don't need to cooperate. They build themselves up from the ground. This is their motto: from the field to the organic box to the end consumer. So the logistical process is like harvest on demand, then sorting and packaging on demand again, order the picked up products, put them into their own logistical providers, own logistical vehicles, and then deliver them themselves to the customer in the time windows. And the time windows are really important to tackle the problem of last mile delivery, because therefore every consumer is able to be at home when the delivery arrives. Therefore, cold chain is also met, the requirement. So the logistical process themselves, you can see here, a typical Viennese old building. So they're delivering to your doorstep. It's really important for some people who are at home or can't carry those heavy boxes. And the advantage for them, or the big selling point, is we produce ourselves, so high transparency on their products. We deliver ourselves to, I think they have 3 different time windows available in the greater Vienna's area. And they have no additional waste with their packaging because they put all in their box. You get a new box with your fresh product, you give your old box back. So in theory, a great waste reduction as well. Here you can see, I think, the founder, so Mr. Adama, and logistical processes, one they developed over time. They tried to do really efficient route planning. This is possible due to their time delivery, their time windows, again. And I already mentioned the sustainable packaging, yes. So what lies ahead for, this is the significance of the success. Basically, I mentioned the stuff already, so the flexible adaptation to what vegetables are seasonable. They work with additional providers that have really big transparency on how they deliver their food to them. They all pack them in their boxes and they do the logistics themselves. What they're looking forward in the future to optimize their vehicles, because now they are combustion engines, and they try to hope that they can switch to a more sustainable delivery vehicle in the future. So thank you all for listening. These were the 2 best practices from Austria, and I give the word back to Marsha.
Thank you, David. So also very interesting practices from Austria. We see the Roises. I think also in Slovenia now we are developing this kind of solution. I think today we have Optifarm with us. They also have this, similar solution, I would say. So also in Slovenia we are starting with this. There are great challenges. I think the Roises is now operating like 5 years. So they have some good business model behind it. So it would be really interesting to see that maybe we try to transfer this best practice also into Slovenia. It's a really nice solution. And the other one I also like, it's a family behind it. These box schemes are very popular. Also in Slovenia, we notice they are now developing, and it's really nice solution. So both of them, really nice best practices. And now we are moving to the Italian side. We know Italians are famous for their food. So also the best practices, which we will present today, I think by Lorenzo. Okay, so I'll give my word to you.
Exactly. Thank you, Masha. Thank you, everyone. Welcome also from my side. I'm Lorenzo Cello, and I work for the Institute for Transport and Logistics, based in Bologna, in Emilia-Romagna. We are glad to be part of this project, and today I just briefly want to show you 2 best practices that we identified. And we decided actually to bring to your attention 2 practices that represent 2 different models in a way of alternative food networks. Because we got, on the one hand, a logistical solution that serves, let's say, community-supported agriculture or purchasing groups, common purchasing groups, and another one that is based on the idea of community-supported agriculture. So I'll start with the first one. First one is called Il Furgoncino Solidale, so the Solidarity Van translated. The name is quite strong, but it's a very interesting practice in a sense that since 2021, this initiative tries to internalize essentially the transportation element of food and these groups of solidarity purchasing groups that are quite, let's say, common in Italy as a structure. So I'll start by a brief, let's say, definition or let's say framing of what solidarity purchasing groups are, because might not be familiar to many, but you have to imagine essentially groups of citizens that unite together and coordinate their activity to order food and buy food in an organized manner from a selected number of producers that they carefully select on the basis of their, let's say, principles and ways of production, and of course, let's say the quality of the food, but also their practices in terms of sustainability. So we are talking about this kind of groups here. So imagine 100 different purchasing groups that are dispersed between central and northern Italy, that are aware of the costs of bringing food and moving food from one place to another. So this initiative was born through collaboration of people, from energies put into people, but I think it can be also a model that can be applied in other contexts, and maybe why not also as a business opportunity if someone decides to. So essentially you have to imagine that there is this van that travels through different cities, this truck actually, and at each stop with a very organized system to optimize trips and also the load of these trucks. They both collect the food from producers and drop the food to the consumers, let's say. So this is a very, not necessarily very sophisticated in the sense of the innovation or the technology level used solution, but it's actually also very much effective and efficient. In fact, their motto is also, we transport or we move relationships, because it's really very much based on the trust and the collaboration among these different people and consumers that put together this system. And in terms of why this is a best practice, is because not only for the transparency, but also for the logistics. And they tend to, I emphasize again, the importance of the energy that the people puts into developing these collective and collaborative solutions. I'll move on to the second best practice, which is instead Arvaia. Arvaia is a community-supported agriculture. We are talking here about, let's say, a type of AFN. We've been talking about AFN, and our focus is AFN. This is a type of alternative food network that brings together basically, again, citizens, consumers that, however, become themselves decision makers in the way food is produced and in the way food is consumed. So in that way, they share also the risks and the rewards of farming. So we brought this to the attention, not necessarily for the, let's say, logistics solution that they provide, although they do, because in terms of organization, they do represent an efficient system, but also because of the model that they represent. Well, the name comes from, is based in Bologna, it comes from the word pea, but this is the story that it's behind the organization, just to symbolize the importance again of symbiosis and collaboration. As I said, the production works in this way. So every year, the community decides what to cultivate and how much to invest in the production system. And everything gets produced according to the principles of agroecology. So that means, again, talking about sustainability, which is one of the criteria that we focus on to identify alternative food network best practices. This is certainly a very high standard because they produce, they are careful both to the quality of the product, but also, of course, to the environmental impact of the production and the consumption of food. The distribution works basically twice a week. Members gather to sort freshly harvested vegetables. The participants can also, as you can see in the picture, participate in the activities if they want, on a volunteer basis. And so in a way, they combine in this model a short food supply chain system with the fact that production is planned. And in that way, they also efficiently minimize food waste and food miles, in a sense, how much food travels. To conclude, there's also another important activity and a reason why this is a best practice, because, of course, there is also a very strong educational purpose and action that they make at local level. And so it goes beyond simply, let's say, the economic side, but it also has a social value, which I think, since we are all somehow struggling to find solutions to develop sustainable food system, these are kind of experiences that can set example and maybe provide a standard. So that's the two best practices that we're happy to present from Italy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lorenzo. So now we are moving to the last two best practices. The next one is going to be presented from Poland. So I think we have Benedict with us. Join us here and present your best practices.
Hello, everyone. I want to show you one of the best practice from Poland. It's a free mark. It's awarded for excellence in local focus. And the owners of free mark are about 300 small farmers and processors who rent an area to preparing the local market. The sellers pay only fees for covers the cost of rent area and promotion of free mark. The source of inspiration, it wasn't profits, it wasn't decide to run a business, but needs. Needs to find healthy and safe food for family members suffering from various illness or complaints. It quickly became apparent that many people had the similar needs. So the main success factors is efficient market model. It's concentrating time of farmers, producers, with time of concentrating consumers in the same place, because the market is open only 4 hours per week. Only Sunday between 9 to 1 o'clock every week. So the producers can go to another similar markets in different cities, and many of the producer processors take these possibilities. The second is direct sales, which give us the opportunity for constant interaction between producers and consumers. The third key success factors is local focus on environmental impact. The firm places environmental consensus as the head of its philosophy, with wonders prioritization, organic production, minimalization packaging, and strong aversion to single-use plastics. There are some photos from the free market. Now they inside the building, which many rooms, and one problem, the renting, because through the 10 years they changed twice the place. But consumers knows the free market and come with producers. Thank you. And that's all. Thanks.
So thank you, Benedict. This best practice is interesting because we see a lot of people working together. They're organized. They found a space in very, let's say, with low cost. And it's initiatives we also notice in Slovenia. So we see that people are starting working together, selling different products. So it's a very interesting way of cooperating and finding a solution that does not cost you a lot. So the next one, we also have one best practice presented. Today, this practice will be presented by Piotr, so I kindly invite you to come.
Thank you, Marcel. My name is Piotr Nowak and I'm representing Łukasiewicz-Poznański Instytut Technologiczny, Poznań Institute of Technology. We are responsible in the project for analytic part of the work, so gathering information about the best practices, but also about logistic solutions and organizational models and business models. So I would like to say thank you for the opportunity and the privilege to play this role in the project. And today I would like to present the second best practice from Poland. This is Wiejska skrzynka, so village e-box, so the box scheme from Poland. And there are two distinctive functions or features of this solution, this AFN. So the first one is excellence in the platform organization. They have very good working e-platform, which gather all offers from the region. This region is the surroundings of Bydgoszcz, so Kujawsko-Pomorskie region, region next to the Wielkopolska, where Poznań Institute of Technology came from. This is very good working organization, which is cooperating with local universities, with University of one is the polytechnics and another one is the local university. And thanks to this cooperation, they offer a special way of evaluation of the quality of the products which are offered. So each producer which is invited to this organization is obliged to use this quality kind of quality assurance system. And another good solution is delivery system, because all these consumers which are ready to buy the products, they are offered with a logistic delivery with the buses, and this is also work very well. So this is another very good feature of this organization. And here we have different examples of products which are offered. There's variety of different products like cheese and different additional products like honey. And on the other hand, we have meat, sausages, and herbs, for example. So different products, and all these products are offered on the platform. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Piotr. So we keep it short and simple and sweet, as honey. So the last is coming from Slovenia. I would like to kindly invite Daniela to present the best practices we identified in the project.
Thank you, Masha. My name is Daniela and I'm coming from Regional Development Agency Podravje Maribor. I will present our two practices, and I'm very glad that both of them are personally here with us today. First of all, I would like to present firm Krapše, which is innovative logistic provider. We are very glad that we had connections with them, because we learned a lot about the logistic. They have a lot of experience, more than 20 years, because they are specialized in transport of food products. So they are also very known in region Podravje, but they are working and transport food products also all over Slovenia. During these years, of course, their way of working increased. And so they have over 60 different vehicles. And that is important because they can consolidate the shipment. So, for example, goods from multiple suppliers, they can transport to the one consumer, and this is very flexible and important for every customers. And the most important is also that they are on the street and they work really every day, 7 days a week. And in these years, their amount of customers increased really high. And today is approximately 2,500 customers. The most important customers are public institutions and retail chains across Slovenia, approximately 30 to 40%. And of course, there are always some challenges, but though they have so much experience, they somehow they are good in making things better and better. Of course, when you transport food, it's very important to maintain the cold chain. And their vehicles, they have different temperature regimes. Also fresh, chilled and frozen down to minus 20 degrees. And especially in public institutions, there is a really big challenge because all the institutions want to have food early in the morning. So they start, I think, at 5 o'clock and deliver food till 7:30. So this delivery time is really challenging, and public institution, of course, they don't have storage that they can maybe this fresh food store, but of course every day they have to deliver fresh food. They are also so big, and they have to these legal requirements. They are registration with the Veterinary Administrative of Republic of Slovenia. So everybody who works with them, it's on safe side, that everything is regular and they don't have to be afraid that something goes wrong. So it's really a good practice. And the second good practice, these are some pictures from Krapše. And I didn't mention they are located in Maribor in region Podravje, so very near this building. And the second good practice is cooperative Rače. It has a really long tradition and a long-standing cooperation with local farmers, with organic beef, and also they make meat products according to their recipes. They are located in Rače, which is approximately 20 minutes from Maribor, also in Podravje region. The most important is that they have a long during these years, they have trust from their local providers, and they get this organic beef, which is 100% organic beef, and so they are sure, not just them, but also the customers, that they will get really good products. They have their own slaughterhouse and their local butcher shop, which is in Rače. But we in Maribor are very happy that we don't have to drive maybe in Race, because they move also to Maribor in a local market, the biggest local market in Maribor. So like as a customer, I can say they are very near me now, and I'm a really regular customer of their products. So from this side, and they have also 6 mobile sales units. This is very flexible because they move along, I don't know, 50 or maybe even 100 kilometers from their location. And they are really near customers, especially maybe on local markets. They can move from one to another market, local market. And so they choose this way that if somebody can come to them to the Race, they are moving across the region, and customers can buy these products. Of course, these products are they are selling to business to customer and also business to business, and it's very challenging also for them to sell the products to public institutions because of the really hard regulations. But we are working together to make it easier. And it's very important to have maybe also individual approach that the people from the other side understand their way of working, and the amount of selling also to local products, product institutions raised during past years. Because they are because they, of course, they have these live animals from local producers. They are already connected with an external transporter, which is specialized for transport of live animals, and they have, of course, certificate for this kind of transport. But during this project, we are very glad that we somehow connected our 2 good practices, so cooperative Race and Krepše. So even though cooperative Race has their own vehicles with cold chain, they are also thinking that some of their transport outsourcing, so in the future maybe they will go on to cooperate with Krepše to some other locations in Slovenia, because of course they also have to look at the logistic costs and also about the organization and time consuming. So we think that this project was also important for the both of them to make some connections and cooperation in the future. This is from my side. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Daniela, for this last presentation of best practice. So we started today discussing that the cold chain infrastructure is a problem. I'm really glad to see that we have Slovenian best practice here showing us we can do it. So now we are concluding this session of showcase, and I would like to move to the award ceremony. And today we have a special occasion to present the certificates of excellence to those best practices that were the best identifying the project. So we will start, of course, with the Slovenian. I will kindly ask Daniela to join me. And of course, the first one we would like to give today, we have a chance that we have a personal representative here today, It's Kmetija Zadruge Rače. So I would kindly invite Simona Sternat. So maybe just to explain the excellence, especially in the local focus, what Kmetija Rače did, it connected the local farmers. And today we have a really good chance that we have a 100% beef on our plates. And this is because of you, so thank you. The second one, receiving the certificate, it's Krapše. And especially in the field of advanced logistics. You saw the presentation, I cannot explain you know what they are doing. So thank you very much. Aha, 3, yeah. So we have a photo shooting, so. So next, we are moving to the Hungary. Also here, we recognize best practices. Geza is the one who will be awarding them.
Yes, firstly, one of our partners is the Cibus Hungaricus, who get this awarded for the excellence in digitalization. This company, let's say, prepared the digital solution for container selling product in a container, as I mentioned before, the best practices. So Cibus Hungaricus is not here, but I can show the certification, and we will give this company this certification. And I would like to ask the representative of Capriovus Kft. And Mr. Németh Csaba, who is the leader of the Research and Development Institute or part of the company, get this award for excellence in sustainability. So congratulate for this.
Okay, now representative for Poland, Michael, is going to give certificate for the best practices.
Now the time for Poland. For Poland, we awarded 2 best practices. The first one is Freemark. Freemark for the local focus. As you have seen, they did a lot to really engage the local community, to work together. They are unfortunately not able to participate to the conference today in person, so I would like to ask Benedict to receive the certificate in behalf of Freemark. And now the second best practice from Poland. The second one goes to skrzynka. Skrzynka is maybe challenging to pronounce in very different language, but in Polish sounds great. Skrzynka received the certificate for digitalization solution. That, as we know in Poland especially, but not only in Poland, the digitalization is not well developed in case of local food communities and alternative food chains. So they really did a lot, and this is one of the first initiative and working system if we consider Polish market. They are not with us today, so I would like to ask Alina to accept the certificate in behalf of skrzynka.
Thank you very much. So now it's in Austria. The first best practice I would like to give is Adama for advanced logistic and digitalizations. I would kindly ask Gerda to receive the certificate in their name. So, thanks very much. Yeah, photo shooting. The second one you also had a chance to get to know, it's Royces. I would ask David to accept the certificate for the advanced logistic digitalization. And the last, but I hope not the least, we have Italian. The first best practice is Arvaia for the sustainability, local focus, and transparency. I would like to kindly ask Lorenzo to accept the certificate. And the second one, I hope I will pronounce it correctly, Furgoncino Solidare. Okay, thank you for keeping your time with us. So we concluded this ceremony award. And there is a last topic on our agenda, and this is the panel discussion. It would say it's a kindly conversation among us to discuss what is in the future, looking beyond the project. So I would kindly ask Dr. Tomislav Letnik as the moderator to join us, and each from one innovation hub is also be joining us today. So, okay, next slide. You can see here representative which will be joining us here, so please take a seat.
Okay, after ceremony, naturally it will be finalization of the conference, but we are not a normal project. We are projects which are trying to achieve a bit more. So as you can see, today they are with us, Daniela Kocovan from the Regional Development Agency, Podravje Maribor. Then we have the David Strauss from University of Applied Sciences from Vienna, Mikal from Poznan University of Life Science, Lorenzo is from the Institute of Transport and Logistics. You know this guy already. Marshenka, of course, the project manager. Riccardo Maratini, and he's from the European Network of Logistic Competence Centers, so he will not be present here, but he's online, so we will see him afterwards. And also Dana Kashchakova, she's from Interreg Central Europe program, so she's also responsible that our project is actually financed. So the idea is of this short session is that I will shortly speak with each of our guests, shortly 5 minutes, on a particular topic. Then I will have the second question, a very short one, and then you will also have the opportunity to ask our guest a short question. So the idea was that I will sit down with our guests, so it's a bit different, so I'm not different than that. Okay, let's start with this part. Okay, so the idea is that we saw that during the project a lot of really interesting and tangible results have been achieved. So the idea of this session is not that we are discussing about all these kind of results, but we are trying to see what will be in the future. So the project provided a lot of interesting things, so we will try to see what will be in the next. So the first I would like to speak with is Daniela. Daniela is a really interesting person because she's really in love with local food and local producers. So that's why we are glad that we had you on our team, because you know quite a lot about small farmers and local producers. So it was very valuable for all partners. So that's why I would like to understand the perspective, because we tackled a bit different perspective than maybe previous projects you've been involved, because the food is always, food production, food processing, food waste, but we focused on logistics. So my main question is, did the companies, did the producers, did the farmers change their perspective about logistics during these projects? And if so, what has changed?
Yes, first of all, I would like to say that I'm working, yes, with local producers now at least 10 years. And a lot of them I know in person. A lot of them I also meet on their farms. So we connect really, and it's a special relationship because somehow I got a little bit of trust from their side, and so our collaboration is really good. As I can say, for AFNs in Slovenia or in Podravia region, they are small. They, of course, during past years, they develop also a lot. But they are thinking mostly how to survive. And mostly I can say that from my perspective, they are like a small firm. They have to do everything like big firm, but just in small area and with less people. These are mostly family producers and with less people. So of course every function is important, and they are thinking how to sell the products and how to survive. But now after this workshop that we have during these 3 years, with AFNs and of course also other institutions, we somehow open their mind not to think how to survive, but how to think strategic, and also how to develop their business model of the direct producer or AFN, and how to collaborate with other farms or AFNs to build a long-term trust also, not just to think where to get customers and how to really survive, but to be more, how to say, we somehow encourage them to new perspective. And with these workshops, we gave them opportunity which steps are needed for different type of organization and working. So I think in the future they will need us after project, of course. And I'm very glad that Innovation Hub will be available, of course, every day. And as a contact person, I will give my best that help them also in the future.
Okay, great. So we noticed today that the majority of these small farmers, they are taking care for their own logistics. So it is very demanding. So they need to have their own vehicle, they need to have their own resources, but they should somehow focus on farming. So you have a lot of experiences in that respect, and also during the project we discussed quite a lot about that. So how would you recommend also others which would like to convince small farmers to go this step forward? So what is needed in order to have the courage, to have the confidence to have this step forward. So really a simple way to say to others how to achieve that, because it is very problematic because they are trying to survive, and during this survival process you don't trust to others. This is normal process. But if they would like to go a step forward, they should somehow start thinking in order to have logistics providers which are professional entities doing this kind of services, either transportation, either warehousing, or everything else. So what would be your advice to other AFNs which were not part of our project, which were not be part of this kind of support so far, how to make this first step?
Well, we have a lot of good practices, and when I talk to AFNs or direct producer, I always gave an example how other did it, and I give them some ideas and how to go from one step to another and to the third one. And during this time, because they are afraid, so with these ideas, somehow they see that, well, it's not so difficult. Okay, we need to do this and this, but in the front, when they get our support, and when we suggest, like in this way with Cooperative Race and Krapše, so we suggest it, and they trust us that we will not suggest somebody who is not, let's say, good and they have experience. So they don't have time to search for logistic providers and so on. And they are also on the different levels of development, and there are some of them are maybe smaller, some a little bit bigger. So it's also important with which provider we are connecting. So if it's a very small AFN, they don't need a large logistic provider because the offer will not be suitable for them. So it's mostly one-to-one conversation, and to know their needs and expectations. Not everything is in money. So also for how to be more organized, and with these connections, I think we can make it.
Okay, great. I would say that Regional Development Agency of Podravia is a great example of doing really important steps in order to continue this kind of operation. This is really, really important because normally the project has start and end, and after that we don't have enough energy and financial means anymore to do it. So that's why the idea of the Regional Development Agency to continue this kind of operation as a regular activity is really a noble one. So if I do understand right, so you will continue with this kind of activities, you will still continue to provide certain support, but of course there are also some needs for some broader understanding of the problem and broader involving also of other stakeholders. I will afterwards discuss with other colleagues about the policies and interventions and measures. So this is needed, right? So it's not just enough to have one person which is there, but you would need to have a team because because food is really important. So we cannot not neglect that. So I think that we all agree about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of
Okay.
course.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. So now we know everything about small farmers, small producers. Let's go to the logistics operators. So David, you are expert in the field of logistics. I can say so after working some time with you. And I would like to now understand the different perspectives. So this was the perspective from the farmer's point of view, the small producer's point of view, but I would like to understand the other side. So, the logistics operators, they are always searching for, some profits, and the logistics processes are quite complex. So that's why they are searching for, big quantities, regular demand, and these kind of things. But by alternative food networks, this is not the case. So how do you think that they are perceiving that? Especially starting at the very beginning, they didn't know this kind of processes, and now after the project. So did their perspective change a bit? They do see opportunities for the future?
I give you a highly scientific answer. It depends.
Okay.
No, to be serious, I think it really depends on where the AFN was in the beginning of the project. So where was their specific project stage, so to say. For example, with Adama, they realized in the beginning that logistics is their key to solve the issue, to get into the market and to be successful. So when we talked with them, they were like, yeah, logistics is one of our main parts of operation. And with others, there was no awareness at all because they thought, oh, we go to a farmer's market, we sell at our shop at home. Why bother with logistics at all? And then there are a lot of them in between. And when you talk with them in between, what we realized is that there's a kind of frustration with points you pointed out, that big logistics providers won't even take their goods because there's not enough, that it's like a business model they could follow. So then they have two reactions. The first reaction would be to scale themselves, like Adama did, or to neglect it completely. And I think what the best practice sections or what the knowledge transfer platform even tried to accomplish was to give them a perspective on how to scale fitting to their specific logistical needs. Because, and that's why I started with, it depends what you need for a solution.
Yeah, definitely. There is no universal solution. So any AFN is a bit different and in a bit different environment. And that's why, of course, you need to be flexible in order to overcome this kind of problem. But from the logistics company's point of view, I'm just wondering what kind of models are the most important one that could be used in the future. So is that aggregation of certain freight? Is that sharing of transport services? Is that digital coordination? So what you would say during the project was recognized as those options which are the most efficient one in order to improve logistics for alternative food networks?
We have another great example in Austria, a company who tries to implement digitalization of really, really small scale producers, so what we call AFNs. And for them, if you follow what they say, like it's digitalization, because after digitalization, even big logistic providers will take your orders because then they can use all the different small AFNs to digitalize and then have a good route and then it's profitable again. So that they would say it's digitalizations. Others say we have to aggregate ourselves, maybe like something that the Italian partners presented. So we are in a small village. There are a lot of different AFNs in the region. So we come together, we try to buy one truck ourselves or do one route ourselves. And this is often really limited. So what a model that we saw really often is that they gave the product to the one partner who go to the market and who does the logistics for them. So it's another outsourcing project in general. So that it's a kind of shared logistics, but it's not the ideal one. And a third one I would point out that the last mile logistics is even more problematic for them, because in the last mile it's even more fragmented and the costs are even higher. So, and that is another reason why we presented Rosie's. But I think there are another great solutions in other countries. For example, the Hungarian partners with their big locker, so to say. Another good solution to get over this problem, because the big logistic companies, they won't solve this problem. They will care about the 95% of food that goes to the big supermarkets, and we shouldn't focus on them. They do their business, they are fine. We focused on the AFNs, on the shorter food supply chains, and there you need a fitted solution to pinpoint to your specific needs. And I think so. The answer again is to your question, it depends.
Yeah. Okay, it seems it's universal answer on all the questions. I was intent to discuss with you also about the future possibilities of logistics operators, but you just mentioned them. So there are several options, several possibilities. And I think that project provided a lot of them. So the logistics operators, they don't have any excuses anymore. So they have the options and possibilities to do. Of course, we have quite a lot of challenges still. Common packaging, common transport, sharing the resources and these kind of things. We are still in early stage of sharing the resources, but in future we will need to do it afterwards. Otherwise, we will not be competitive what it is concerned.
And I would add one more thing, trust. And that's what we build in the project. If you trust, you will share your logistics. If you trust a provider of a logistic solutions, you can consolidate, maybe in a parcel locker or in some other solution. And trust is like not something you could measure quite easily, but it's a really, really necessary commodity if you want to do good business. And you also need to trust the market and your consumers. And if you have a shared box scheme, for example, it's really important that you get them back, you get a new one. And trust is built over time. And I think this project was a great starting point in this direction.
Okay, great. Michael, we will go now to you. We have now the perspective from the small producers, small farmers. The other perspective on the other side is from the logistics operators. So during the project, the matchmaking platform was developed, which was one of the main aims was maybe to connect those two, to show that somebody needs certain services, and the other side to show that somebody is providing certain solutions. And that was a great example of trying to achieve something better. And my a bit provocative question would be, do we need this kind of matchmaking platforms to do these kind of things?
Let me maybe refer now in a more general way, because your question is very related to my main fieldwork research, which is the business interactions and business relationships across the market. And I really like the statement of David, because he, at the very end, he mentioned the trust. Yeah, if you consider the business relationships, the trust is considered as one of the, like a cornerstone of starting the business relationships. And this is something what is not built in an easy way, what requires some time to achieve the trust among the market players. But on the other hand, you can somehow present you and as the entity which is able to achieve more trust, because you are, for instance, present on the platform. Yeah, so you present yourself as a more professional entity and more open to cooperate each other. If you are more open, cooperate each other, it means that on the other hand, you have a certain rules of operations on the market and acting. Yeah. So what I'm going to say is, building a platform like a matchmaking platform, we can help the companies who are operating on the market to at least reach like an initial level of trust, which allowed to start cooperation with the others. Considering the business relationship in general, there are a lot of benefits from the business relationship, yeah? Because your market operations might be more efficient. You might be more visible. There is another benefit related to the knowledge sharing and stuff like that. On the other hand, there are certain costs of staying in a business relationship. For instance, you lose independency, which is very important for some market players. Yeah? On the other hand, if you like to be in a close relationship with the others, you need to adapt to this market entity. So the adaptation costs are the other significant factor for this. Yeah? However, as I still refer to the trust seems to be kind of initial stage which allow companies to start being more active and more interactive, connected to the other players.
Okay, great. Today we noticed that we have currently something around 100 companies which are part of this platform. And we noticed during the project this is not an easy task. And the main question, because I know that you're expert in that field, is how to convince them that this is something really positive and they should do this kind of step, at least to expose themselves to be part of this platform. Because, you know, this is really, we are really struggling with that. We are building something which we think is really useful and needed for them, but they are somehow reluctant to expose themselves on a platform which could bring them new additional options. So what is the problem? So what we need to solve in order to overcome this issue?
Oh, it's like a bunch of different factors which create this specific situation that in many countries we're really struggling with, especially at the very initial stage with recruitment of the companies. One of the reasons was, as mentioned before, as discussed before, this last of trust. Yeah? But on the other hand, we can present the platform as a tool, how the company, which is not, very well known on the market, may be visible, may be perceived as a more trusted entity. But what I'm going to say is, what is very important is to have kind of a private and public partnership. And it's very good that such initiative as Food4CE project is funded by the EU subsidies, because it's very important to have a public organization, like even non-profit organization, to promote the tools which in the further steps allow market entities, which is definitely really focused on the business, yeah, to start benefiting from the platform. Yeah? And I strongly would like to underline the significant role of innovation hubs we establish in every single country. And through the innovation hubs, we are able somehow to affect the market entities that at least it's worth to consider. Yeah? Is it good to be present on the platform? It's very important to actively work with the possible users of a matchmaking platform and other platforms, yeah? Because at the very beginning, once you do not have like a critical mass, enough number of users, yeah? But in many cases, there is not a significant reasons to join in. However, on the other hand, if they see, okay, now you have 100 users, yeah, why not to join, yeah? Because there is no cost to join to the platform. You can only benefit, yeah? So I would say at the very beginning, we need to be proactive. It's very important to have a non-business support, like a public support to this. And then once the platform, once the system reach the critical mass, it will be much easier to follow.
Okay, great. Okay, the next step in this process is somehow try to understand, okay, we know the farmers, we know the logistics operators, how to connect them, but without appropriate policy support, it is very difficult to achieve that. So my main question was, because Lorenzo, you are expert in this kind of policies, you studied actually all the policies from the European perspective, from the regional perspective. My question actually would be, where are the weakest point at the very moment that we would somehow be able to support these kind of initiatives we are discussing today here?
Right. Policies, I think, are key. And we did, thanks to this project, I think, a great work of analysis of the policy and legal frameworks and landscape of all the policies that, not all, but a good part of policies that affect alternative food networks. So we kind of were able to identify many instances and many different policies at different levels, local, regional, European level, that affect alternative food networks. And the innovation hubs were very functional in this role, because of course with innovation hubs, what we did is to make, let's say, create a foundation for understanding the needs of alternative food network. And as we said many times today, alternative food network is an umbrella term which covers many different entities. And for that reason, I think that the fine-grained analysis of the needs of these entities needs to be done at, let's say, local, regional level or national level, depending on the context. And from there, then we took essentially the two avenues of, on the one hand, trying to put together and synthesize what these needs are and put them into the recommendations, policy recommendations that went into regional action plans and that in many cases were presented, of course, to policymakers. In our case, in Emilia-Romagna, this was included in a policy document. So that's a work that started and needs to continue. And on the other hand, what we were talking about before, the needs need to match the offer, the demand side and the offer need to be. So exactly because alternative food networks are different in different contexts, I think the fine-grained understanding of their needs is important in our role to make then the logistics side and the market operators understand what the specific needs are and possibly tailor their offer of services to those needs. Because in our case, at least in our experience that we know better, of course, in the Emilia-Romagna region of alternative food networks, we see that these organizations are, of course, somehow they're functioning, so they are somehow working and organized to a certain extent in terms of logistics. Obviously, the way they are organized could be and should be improved many ways. The question is, of course, there's resistance to change in general, but also there's the aspect of what is being offered to them as a solution. That's, it can be at the level of, okay, there's this company that does this, or it can be at the level of, okay, we understand very well and we build trust as independent actor, in the case of moderators of Innovation Hub, we build the trust that we can provide a solution for you. And then on the other hand, we intermediate with the business actors to try and make them understand what the need is and what's the best solution. And with Innovation Hub, we did some of this work of bringing with the webinars after the analysis of the needs, bringing the actors and the business operators to explain and to talk directly with AFNs. And there's obviously an interest, but this is the first step, a big step that we made with Innovation Hubs. Now, I think this work needs to continue and without dispersing all the work that we did, because I think it's very valuable and you can see it from, I think, the tools and the results we obtained.
Yeah. Great. So first it was analysis of the situation, try to understand what is missing, then bring together the policymakers with the stakeholders. This is really, really important. But if you would like to now look a bit in the future, what kind of measures are needed in order to improve this whole process? Some dedicated funding mechanisms, the money is not the most important thing, but to support something like regional food supply chains is really needed, because we need infrastructure. We noticed also in Slovenia that certain infrastructure is needed in order to start a collaboration. So you need to provide options. If there are no options, then you have quite a lot of problems. Are these new public procurement reforms or some cross-border harmonization? We noticed today the other colleague of you explained that we have problems with having understanding of what is alternative food network, what is regional food, locally produced food. So what would be your advice to policymakers, let's say, first few ideas, what they need to do and what they need to support in order to improve this process?
Yes, Lorenzo Bertoncini explained very well the details of the, let's say, policy analysis that we made and the recommendations. I will take, the 2 points that I think are a bit crucial, and they are different, because the first one is a very high-level consideration, which of course has repercussions for the local, and for the also local legislation and so on, is the importance of having an object clearly identified in laws to provide support to. So the definitional issue. At academic level, at research level, we've got a purpose with the definition, which is to identify the field that we're analyzing, and possibly in a broad way so that we can fit many organizations. At legislation and policy level, we got the opposite necessity, which is to be very specific as to who we are trying to support and how. So this is the broader, let's say, definitional issue that was mentioned, and I think it's important to consider, and we can't solve ourselves, but it's important to highlight and keep in mind, because then also the high-level policies, they translate into local level, and that's where regional or local level or even national, you can also tailor it to the context, and try to have a definition that works for your context. In practical terms, to go to also your question, I think, at least again, also from our experience, but I think in other innovation hubs, there is the issue of financial sustainability and financial incentives. But more specifically, I think there is also the importance of pushing municipalities and metropolitan cities, local authorities, depending, the scale of the place, to put at the disposal of this organization, because of the social value that they have, some spaces that they can use in common, at least one big space. That would create, I think, let's say, the physical platform on which then all the, let's say, digital platform with innovations, with the need for, organizing the flows, the needs for optimizing, the need to collect the data and use digital tools also will come from. So I think, at least from our experience, this is really what should be done at local level, which is somehow also the most effective and practical and immediate thing to do. You can try and more realistically try to convince, let's say, or lobby, to use another word, policymakers at that level, and explaining them, of course, why that's important for your context. In our context, that would be really important, because it would create this effect of networks and making collaboration possible, and will create the conditions for then, bringing in the solutions and the innovation and the technologies, and reorganizing a business model that is collaborative.
Okay, some really great starting points. So we have quite a lot of work ahead of us in order to improve this point. So the next, Masha, it's your turn. I don't know if you know, but Masha is one of really strong expert in the field of living labs. So that's why we initially started to think about innovation hubs. So innovation hubs are actually built on the methodology of the living labs. So my question would be, based on the experiences of all the partners, and you have quite good overview of all the activities, would be, how did this co-creation function in practice actually started, and what was it strong, was it difficult to engage the stakeholders, and where the methodology was really successful and where it was weak? So experiences of the innovation hubs on the national levels, and afterwards I will speak with a colleague about the international level.
So thank you. So we know this living labs innovation. It's you have a methodology that is set, so you have steps to follow. But when you start, it's really hard. At the beginning, you have to identify the stakeholders, not only the ones that have experience and knowledge, but they have time and willingness. And I think it's a person matter. So you have to have somebody like Daniela leading the innovation hub that is able to connect people. And at the beginning, it's very hard, because they don't see the point why to participate. But when you start the discussion, you see we are all facing the similar problems. And then slowly you get to the solution part. And I think Innovation Hub, when we started, was a bit difficult, but then we start talking about problems, identifying solutions. We organized co-creation session workshops, which were really practical, giving the tools, for example, tools for transport optimization. We presented best practices, showing how things can be done. And afterwards, we saw this progress. So we saw that people give us the feedback. They were more willing to participate. But of course, it's a challenge. Today, we are lucky. We have this online participation available. I think this has changed after the COVID. But sometimes, in these times, it's much easier for us also, because we were able to also introduce some partners from abroad or different parts of Slovenia. And we got used to this online working. So it's nowadays it become like reality. 10 years ago, it would not function. So things are changing, I say, in that matter. Yeah.
Masha, one very, very difficult question for you. And the second question is, these innovation hubs survived during the project. We had a financial means to support this kind of activities. We are partners, we are knowing each other and doing really good job. What would need to be done in order to continue with this kind of activities, innovation hubs? So we already have some ideas how to proceed with this kind of activities, but what need to be done? What's the energy which will drive these innovation activities forward? Because these innovation hubs are not just a place where we discuss certain things, but we are really trying to understand the needs and trying to innovate, trying to provide some new solutions. And of course, with what you mentioned, best practices to show. to show certain best practices, it is really a nice way to engage certain things. So how to proceed in the future? It's really difficult because I'm quite aware, a lot of living labs provided during the projects, actually after the project end, they finished and nothing was left after that. So do you have any ideas how to proceed in that respect? Because we would like to do our best in order to, because the food is really too important topic just to throw it away.
So you give me the hardest question.
I know.
Of all. So it's really impossible to answer.
It depends, right?
It depends, yeah. But yes, as you mentioned, what we saw when we have funding, when you have a financial support, innovation hubs and living labs are living. When they finish, you still have people behind it. So in our case, we will have people, they have the motivation, but at the end, you lack the time and resources. So all of us, we have to survive on the market. And at the end, unfortunately, if you don't have a financial support for this kind of cooperation, you cannot be 100% present. So this project was really a good benefit for us because we had a founding possibility. We have time to really focus on these activities. Of course, we will try. I think we have a good mechanism. We have good contacts established, and we will keep this innovation hub alive if after the end, but it's impossible to keep it on the same level without the funding. And this is the honest question. And this funding can come from private capital. If you find a customer that's see the interest in solutions that you are developing. But we are talking now about the food, and food is a public good. And I think in that way we have to make it sure that we have a good local food, as the same as we have to make sure for the public transport. And so, to be honest, when I'm thinking about funding, I think this should be priority of the country, to make sure that the local food is coming to the kindergartens, to the schools, to customers. So.
Thank you very much. We are lucky that the last panelist is somebody from the Central Europe program. I would ask at the very end if there are some continuation possibilities. But before that, I'm now turning to Ricardo. Ricardo is the guy from the OpenNLog. OpenNLog, if you don't know, is the European network of logistic competence centers. So competence means knowledge. And during our project, we gathered so much knowledge. And that's why we have this knowledge transfer platform, which will stay alive and it will be constantly there. So that's why, Ricardo, I'm now leaning to you and try to understand. So, knowledge transfer platform. Can you please say something about that? What kind of knowledge is there? And how do we plan to continue with this kind of operation? So that's my first question.
Thank you, Tommy, and good morning from my side. I would say that my task is pretty simple because I have just to further highlight and consolidate some concepts. And I don't know if you hear me well. So you have some noise in the background.
Try once again because there is some echo.
Yeah, now?
Now seems to be better.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying that my task is actually quite simple because you have already a quite clear idea on the points that I want just to highlight and further consolidate that have already been discussed from the beginning of the session this morning and also through the discussion during the panel. Of course, the knowledge that we're talking about is what is fostering and encouraging AFN, which provides them inspiration and support through their knowledge there and through the exchanging that they can make together by getting in touch. And hearing from some best practices from other regions, as we have already seen, we are experiencing what we are talking about. So it's pretty simple for me to just highlight this point. And also recalling how the project Food4CE has a dual character. It was deeply rooted in the regional level, but from its essential network and from the discussion that we have been carried out from the beginning within the partnership, there was a strongly commitment activity to the transnational level exchange and leveraging and mutual understanding in the first place, because as you have heard, we needed at the first place to discuss and come to an agreed view on what AFNs are and how we can address specific themes, criteria to highlight best practices, etc. This first part was carried out within the project consortium and was the basis from the further step. It has been the development of the on the platform, the knowledge transfer platform and the matchmaking platform that we have already seen and you are, I would say now, already familiar with. They provide contents, they provide learning, they provide also opportunity to see best practices and get in touch with other actors. This was the second, let's say, step. And then there was also, because platforms alone are not enough. We need people to discuss about this, and this is about the Innovation Hub. You have already been introduced to this concept, and they were carried out at the regional, local level, but also at the transnational level. This was starting as well within the project consortium. We had some brainstorming sessions, and then we have 3 sessions with external partners. And I would say this is also part in continuation with this kind of activity, because you have heard a lot of experience and also people say, okay, it's interesting. It's something that I can borrow and let's say apply in my own context.
Thank you, Riccardo.
As a first step.
My second question is really concrete. So normally at the end of the project, there is nobody who takes care for knowledge transfer platform, this kind of platforms which are developed. Can you be really concrete? So who will take care for these activities in the next few years? And because this is really important for the sustainability of all these kind of activities. Can you please explain really shortly what is the future in that respect?
First and foremost, the platform will be kept alive. There are partners that are committed to these activities, and also in terms of already established agreements. And as far as the knowledge transfer platform, it is on the OpenAirlock website and will remain there, being updated by the partners themselves that are keeping their role. So this is in practice, let's say, a good basis and driver, because we are now just to maintain, we reach maturity, not the end, I would say. And we have already the possibility, being in the OpenAirlock website, it's pretty easy for us to ensure this. I don't know if it clarifies or you want to further deepen this point.
That's true. And also important is that OpenAirlock is really strongly connected with other networks dealing with logistics on the European scale, where they have been asked in order to provide best practice examples, additional knowledge. So this is something which will grow also in the future. Am I right?
Yes, indeed. We have, apart from signatories in the agreements, when you have both at the level of practitioners and AFNs, but also at the level of networks, when you see that something is alive, that you have commitment and results, I think that this is attracting in concrete, also in the long term.
Okay, thank you very much.
Also other participants.
Thank you very much. Okay, our last panelist is Dana Kaszczakova. She's coming from the Interreg Central Europe program. And we are happy to have you here today. Dana is also a communication manager. She knows quite a lot how to communicate and discuss certain things. So 2 really short questions for you. First of all, we noticed that this project, we can be quite sure that provided a lot of really tangible results, a lot of really concrete results, a lot of best practices we've been gathering, and a lot of innovation hubs established. As we all see, this will also run also in the future after the project end. This is really, really important. My main question is, how important is the topic of food and logistics inside of the future program, which is now being developed in the Central Europe? Because we are really looking forward to further develop this kind of thing. So I'm just trying to understand, is that a priority for the future? Can we also maybe in the future apply for some additional funds to continue with this kind of operation?
Yes, so basically we are right now discussing the future because, as you know, the European Union works on a 7 years period. So your Food4CE project was acting within the period of 22 to 27. And as from 2028, there will be a new financial period where the discussions on the topics, on the territories are actually are just starting. And your concrete project was within our optic, basically fitting into the priority of innovation. And within this innovation topic, the innovation theme, or the umbrella, if you want so, we have certain topics. And food is one of them. We also have in the green priority projects that are dealing with food and in more with the green packaging and sustainability of and circularity within the food system. So there is a strong voice, not just from your side, but also from other projects and other actors in Central Europe, speaking with the loud voice of the food. But how exactly it will look like, it will be too premature to tell me that exactly food is the topic and the logistic is the topic that will be on a high priority level. But I believe that innovation might be defined a bit differently, how we have to see. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for this really honest answer. There are some options. There are some hopes. I see that this is not the end of our story. And the second question would be, because you are also communication manager. So as you see, we provided quite a lot of really interesting results. Maybe just 2 or 3 suggestions, because when the project ends, it doesn't mean that also the communication and dissemination ends. Actually, now we have all the results, and now we have to do our best in order to disseminate that as soon as possible and as much as possible. Maybe just 2, 3 suggestions from your really rich experiences in that respect.
Yes, indeed. I mean, sustainability is from our side something that is very important. You even are asked about the sustainability in the application form. So when you are preparing your project idea. So it really shows, or we hope that it shows, that we really put a lot of emphasis on the sustainability. And within the generation of projects that we have already funded, we can see that what is important post-funding is that you still provide a service that is highly needed, that is really the utility or the usage of the service that you have is important, and that your hubs that you have put a lot of effort to establish, maybe you had to deal with the administrative burdens and challenges, are now fully operational. So that is this operational USP is there, and that the stakeholders or final beneficiaries are still interested in what you have. As a recommendation, maybe is also what, just to build on what Marczenka was saying, that not everything is about funding, but indeed you need resources. You have people, but maybe you also have an institution where you have like an anchor. The previous speaker was speaking on behalf of Enlog, and they provide a server space for existence of the matchmaking platform and knowledge hub. So this is also important that you think like how you divide the tasks for the future, who is taking care of what, and that you carry the message within your institution.
Okay, thank you very much. We are slowly coming to an end, so just the last question for all the panelists. If you would like to somehow define the main idea and the main achievement on let's say legacy of our project, what would be one sentence? So I'm not trying to say who will be the first. So if you have an idea, what would be legacy of our project in one sentence, that would be really nice.
I'm lucky because I'm the first one. So let me put it in a very general expression, because I do believe that our project is one of the initial stage towards a new model of a food system, which is very important now because the food system are developing towards the concentration. And now I would say we reach the maximum level in many cases of a concentration, and we really need a new model of a food system. And this is the first step, an important step towards this achievement.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I will be very short. I think we need permanent regional food system instruments and to go forward. So in every country, in every region, we eat food every day. So it has to be priority for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, my conclusions from the project. We learned so much from each other. We see that best practices existed, and I think what I would like to see, it's maybe more developed system also in Slovenia. We have so many good cases in Austria, for example, and other ways. And to know that would not be possible without this project. So I think that's what brought us together, to learn from each other and to improve.
Thank you. I think that the legacy could be or should be that markets work, that people from the bottom up work really hard to bring food on the table, locally grown food, and to value those people and give them a chance in a fair market with a good overlay and not butchering bureaucratic burdens. That could be a great legacy. Like the people who are working to bring food on the table are great people.
Thank you.
One sentence is difficult, but I'll try to. I mean, I think we did a great job of bringing two worlds together to talk and to understand each other, the logistic providers and the business world with the small producers. I think the legacy is to support these virtuous actors, Alternative Food Network, to build a sustainable food system for our regions.
Okay, great. Riccardo?
Things have been said, but let me put this way. We want local products, but we do not want knowledge and awareness to remain local. Therefore, at the end of the project, we have the knowledge base, the tools, and above all, a committed community. And we can say that this is very encouraging in thinking that we can keep this mutual growth and exchange process alive.
Ms. Koszczakova, you are the last one who has the opportunity to add something.
Well, for us, the cooperation is central, as it is our slogan. And what I also take from this conference is that I will remember your project as building trust. And I hope to see, as also Marchenka said, that we have to convince people to use public transport. We need to convince people to eat local food, and we need initiatives that go into this. So for me, the legacy is really building trust and awareness about activities and themes that are important to all of us.
Okay, great. So we came almost to an end. So we have the opportunity for one, maximum two questions, but really short if needed, because I think we were quite exhausting. So a lot of information have been gathered. In case there is some question, we will take it. I don't see any hands, so it means that everything was said. And so I will thank all the panelists to be part of this short conversation. And with this, we are concluding our conference. So for the finalization, I will give the word to you, Masha, right? To finalize the conference. So thank you very much.
So we said so many, but as Dana already said, cooperation is central. So I really thank each of you for participating in this project, coming here today. And then, of course, what is waiting for us is the food in the next room.
Thank you.